we didn't get to finish. I actually like half finished the morning class. So this class is going to start with what I didn't finish, and it's going to be showing on the screen over here, provided technology works. It doesn't always work. And the title of it is Examining the Strength of Our Shelter, Part 2. And while we're waiting for technology to work, oh, look at that. Gee. Could you get my shoulder bag? Should be over here somewhere. Brown shoulder bag. Brown shoulder bag. That's it. Thank you. In the morning session, we had some discussion about part 1. It was in relation to the examination that the kings, 20,800 kings were imprisoned by Jarasandha. Actually, he had made a vow that he was going to human sacrifice 100,000 kings. He was a bad guy. He wasn't a good guy. And Krishna arranged for his demise after some, deliberate purification opportunity for those kings. And they came out, at the stage of perfection, or at the stage of requesting Krishna to provide them the means, the sadhana that they could practice for the constant remembrance of the same thing that they were experiencing. What they were experiencing, well, you can say they were experiencing perfection before their eyes. It wasn't just a notion or a deity or a picture or a concept. Krishna was standing before them. And they wanted the means by which they could always remember. And Krishna gave them the means. And the final part of that chapter is Krishna giving them, now that when they go back to their kingdoms, how they should execute their duties. So most of us aren't kings, but we have duties. And there's a consciousness that is very instructive how to always remember Krishna. And by that constant remembrance comes the fruit of constant remembrance is Dridha Bhakti or Prema Bhakti. So now that which inspired this theme is coming from Antya-lila, chapter 4, Sanatana Goswami visits the Lord at Jagannath Puri. The painting you see is Sanatana Goswami in Vrindavan, and you'll see from the first line, the text 1 of this chapter, there's Vrindavanat Punak Praptam. So Sanatana Goswami had come from Vrindavan to visit Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Puri, as Mahaprabhu had instructed him. The first time they met, Ramakeli. Second time they met, Prayag. Third time they met, Puri. Mahaprabhu, we showed this during the winter weekend, the path that Sanatana Goswami followed for all 3 of those visits. This is the third, and mentioned specifically is Deha Padat. Krishna protected Avan Snehat. He protected Sanatana Goswami from giving up his body. That's what's in this chapter, and we'll be discussing. And he did it very sweetly. He did it with his affection. Sanatana Goswami had so much affection for Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu had so much affection for Sanatana Goswami. And in the strength of his affection for Sanatana Goswami, he protected him, Van, from giving up his body. And Shudham Chakre, he made his body pure again by embracing him. And in this way, Prikshaya, he was examining Sanatana Goswami. Now, I meant to bring with me, do you happen to have the sound amplification device with you? So, some of you attended the seminar we held during Memorial Day weekend in Potomac Temple. We were discussing Manashiksha. And the third verse of Manashiksha describes the position of Sanatana Goswami in relation to achieving the stage of Raga Bhakti. What's Raga Bhakti? Those of you who had attended the morning class, yesterday evening's class, you saw the logo of Bhaktisiddhanta's Gaudiya Math. On this side is Vidhimarg, and this side is Ragamarg. Ragamarg means spontaneous devotion. We do, in our deity worship, that was on the left side, looking at his logo, deity worship, and follow the vidhis of sadhana bhakti. We do that. And the mature fruit of the vidhis of sadhana bhakti is on the other side. Do you have that other little extension? Oh, look at that. He's so... You get a demigod award. He's blushing, you can't tell. Ragamarg is the mature, it's the gift that Lord Chaitanya came to give. Yes? Yes. Namo Mahabharanaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gaur Trishe Namaha. The most magnanimous, munificent Mahaprabhu came to give not only Prema Bhakti, but Braja Bhakti, Braja Prem. And that's only accessible, this Raga Bhakti is only accessible through worship of Krishna in Braj. Mahaprabhu came to give it. And the one who's writing, I'm just waiting for it because it just starts playing the music. It's third verse of Manashiksha. And this third verse of Manashiksha, Raghunath Das Goswami, having heard this directly from Srup Damodar, who heard it directly from Mahaprabhu, this is the path of Ragamarg. And Sanatana Goswami's name is mentioned. And if technology cooperates, here we go.
Avasham Vrajabhuvi Saragam Prajanur Yuvatvam Tachchit Paricharitum Aradabilashe Svarupam Shirupam Saganamiha Tasyagrajamapi Sputam Premna Smadadadvam Shinumana.
You recognize the voice. It's our celebrated, where is he? Downstairs? Okay. Mukunda Prabhu. And his good wife is going to tell us what the words mean. But you see, in this, where is it? Okay, here's the translation.
Listen, O mind, if you desire in every birth to reside in the land of Vraja, with loving attachment, and to serve the youthful couple of Sri Sri Radha Krishna in close proximity, then clearly remember and offer obeisances to Sri Swarup, Sri Rupa, and his associates in Vrindavan, and to Sri Rupa's elder brother, Sri Sanatan.
So we're on a little journey of Raga Bhakti. Fasten your seatbelt, and you don't have to worry about oxygen masks falling from the ceiling or anything like that. But you do need a seatbelt because it's a very elevated journey, Raga Bhakti. But that's Lord Chaitanya's gift, and it's by offering obeisance to and remembering Sanatan Goswami and others. So Sanatan Goswami, in his third meeting with Mahaprabhu, followed the same path that Mahaprabhu followed when going from Puri to Vrindavan and from Vrindavan back to Puri, and included going through the Jharikand forest. Now, one description I read is he found out he's like he was the prime minister of half of India today during the government of Nawab Hussain Shah. He was a very capable person. So he found out the path that Mahaprabhu followed through the Jharikand forest. And as he went through the Jharikand forest, each place he stopped was some village people, or whatever you want to call them, tribal people that lived in the forest, and he wanted to hear from them. What did he do? What did he say? What happened? He's just like completely attached to hearing the messages about Mahaprabhu. And now, as fortune would have it, one could say misfortune, one could say great fortune, one could say divine arrangement. Maybe the third one is the best one. He took water from a place that resulted in his body becoming contaminated. And the contamination was a particular kind. His body developed sores all over his body, the kind of sores that are wet. Prabhupada used the word weeping. There's some that are just dry and itching, and some that are oozing, smelly, bloody, pussy, yucky stuff called weeping sores all over his body. And as he was traveling, because he knew the kind of affection that Mahaprabhu had for him as he had for Mahaprabhu, that he liked to embrace him. And he was thinking, what's the use of this body? It's just going to make offenses. So he started to meditate and came to the conclusion that he should give up his body. When he got to Puri, wait for Rath Yatra of Jagannath, and before the wheels of Jagannath, with the direct vision of Mahaprabhu and the direct darshan of Lord Jagannath, give up his body under the wheels of the cart. And that kind of became his resolve, giving up his body that way. However, that didn't happen. It didn't happen because when he reached Jagannath Puri, after some time, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu personally forbid him from doing that. And when Mahaprabhu personally forbid him from doing that, Sanatana Goswami could understand. He's omniscient. I didn't say this to anybody. And yet he knew. And not only he knew, he closed the door. He locked it because I can't disobey Mahaprabhu. So this is a nice painting that happened a few times. This is where his body is shown having sores. In the background is Haridas Thakur, and Mahaprabhu is trying to embrace him. And he is saying, please don't touch me. Please don't touch me. And Mahaprabhu would forcibly embrace him with all this yucky, smelly stuff smearing on Mahaprabhu's body. So when he got there, when Sanatana Goswami got there, he had previously met Haridas Thakur. Now, when did he previously meet Haridas Thakur? He met Haridas Thakur in Ramakeli. If you remember, some of you like reading Prabhupada's books. And you'll know that when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was made his first plan to visit Vrindavan, he didn't go straight to Vrindavan, he went straight north instead of west, northwest. And he stopped in a few places. He stopped in Shantipur and had some exchange with Advaitacharya and the devotees there. And then he went to Ramakeli. And in the entourage with Mahaprabhu was thousands of people. Too many people. But in that entourage that was with him was Haridas Thakur and many others, because it was a big entourage. But apparently they had met. Doesn't say much at all. It just says he was with them. And then because when Sanatana Goswami reached Puri, he looked for Haridas. He asked around, where's Haridas? Because he wanted to stay with Haridas. Because they had some affection, or similar affection for Mahaprabhu. So they stayed together. Devotees like to do that sometimes. So he stayed with Haridas at Siddhabakul, and Mahaprabhu came to know that he had come. So Sanatana Goswami said, I'm very eager to meet Mahaprabhu. And Haridas said, he comes every morning. Just stay right here and we'll see him. So when he came, there was some nice exchange. Mahaprabhu said, just 10 days ago, your brother Rupa, he left. He was here for months. And just 10 days ago, he left. You just missed one another. And where Rupa had gone was he went back to Bengal, where his relatives lived, and he spent some time dividing up all those boatloads of gold coins amongst the relatives, in a way that everyone would be hopefully satisfied. And then Mahaprabhu said, from your brother, from Rupa, I learned that your third brother, Anupam, is now dead. He was a great devotee of Lord Ramachandra with firm conviction. So this Dhrita Tara Bhakti. Remember from the morning session, Dhrita Bhakti? Same. That's the Bhagavatam language. This is the Chaitanya Charitamrita language. Tara means his Dhrita Bhakti. Then Sanatana Goswami shared something with Mahaprabhu, and that is, Sanatana Goswami said to Mahaprabhu, Rupa and I tested him. There's the pariksha again. Remember from the morning class. We examined him. How did they examine him? Every day, the three brothers would sit and discuss Srimad Bhagavatam. This is in Ramakeli. They're in government service, but they're Vaishnavas. And they're just reading and discussing Srimad Bhagavatam. So one day, Rupa and I both encouraged our brother Anupam, why don't you become a Krishna Bhakta? And because they're his elder brothers, being respectful to his elder brothers, he asked them, please give me the Krishna mantra. So they initiated him into the Krishna mantra. And the next morning he came looking like a wreck. And he said, I couldn't sleep all night. He said, please give me an instruction that I should worship Raghunath with ardent love and devotion, this Dhrita Bhakti, for the rest of my life. And so they did. They gave it. As elder brothers, they gave that instruction that matched his devotion. He said to Mahaprabhu, he stayed up all night and cried. And then Mahaprabhu said, very interesting, a very similar incident happened concerning Rari Gupta. What was that? Lord Nityananda And Mahaprabhu encouraged Murari Gupta to become Krishna Bhakta. And he was Ram Bhakta. So he went home and he tried. And he couldn't sleep all night long. And he came the next morning, sleepless, bleary eyed. Please instruct me that I should only worship Lord Ramachandra for the rest of my life. And Mahaprabhu said his determination was similar. His Dhrita Bhakti was similar. Yes, I examined him. Just like Anupam was examined, just like Murari Gupta was examined, and just like Sanatana Goswami is going to be examined. Examined, we discussed in the morning session, examined doesn't mean like something that you cram for an exam and you get a good grade and you get 5 gold stars on your report card. Not like that. He wanted to strengthen and highlight both the quality of the Dridha Tara Bhakti of Sanatana Goswami towards Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu said, after these 2 examinations, he said, glorious is that devotee who does not give up the shelter of his Lord. And glorious is that Lord who does not abandon his servant. Then comes the scene of protecting Sanatana Goswami by Mahaprabhu's affection. Just quoting from Chaitanya Charitamrita, if by chance, a servant falls down and goes somewhere else, glorious is that master who captures him and brings him back by the hair. And that's why we shave our heads, right? Some time passed. This is before Rath Yatra. He came before Rath Yatra. He came in April, May, and Rath Yatra is until sometime later. So before Rath Yatra, one day, Mahaprabhu would come every day to see Haridas, and staying with Haridas was Sanatana Goswami. One day, when the Lord came to meet them, he suddenly began to speak to Sanatana Goswami. My dear Sanatana, he said, if I could attain Krishna by committing suicide, I would certainly give up millions of bodies without a moment's hesitation. And Sanatana Goswami was astonished. He knew my mind. How did he know my mind? He's in my heart, and I'm in his heart. So he knew my mind. This phrase in this chapter comes out at least 10 times. Chamatkar. He was astonished. And he said to Haridas, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who knows everything, past, present, and future, has forbidden me to commit suicide. He said that to Haridas, and then he fell at Lord Chaitanya's feet, touching his lotus feet. So his plan, because of his yucky body, was to give it up. But the giving it up, the door was locked. And then Sanatana Goswami said, it's a nice, it comes out 3 times or 4 times during this chapter. You are the omniscient, merciful, independent, supreme Lord. Exactly like an instrument of wood, I dance as you make me do so. Then came the question, if you keep me alive, what will be the profit? This is the same exchange when Lord Chaitanya revealed that he knew his plan. So if you keep me alive, what will be the profit? And Lord Chaitanya's reply is sublime. He said, your body is my property. You have already surrendered unto me. Therefore, you no longer have any claim over your body. Think about this, those who are devotees and initiated devotees. And when you surrender, it means you surrender. Your body is no longer yours, it belongs to Krishna. Your body is my principal instrument for executing many necessary functions. By your body I shall carry out many tasks. Now it's those two, but also Haridas is hearing the whole conversation. And Haridas, being an intimate associate of Mahaprabhu, understands what is intended. Lord Chaitanya said, Mathur Vrindavan is my own very dear abode. I want to do many things there to preach Krishna consciousness. I have to do all this work through your body, but you want to give it up? How can I tolerate this? No, this is home because he's Krishna, but he can't stay in Mathura Vrindavan because his mother said stay in Puri. So he has to do his work through someone, and Sanatan is the one he's chosen. Now, what was that work that he wanted him to do? He wanted him to write books and rediscover the lost places of pilgrimage. And the books specifically that we're going to hear, there's of two kinds. Sanatana Goswami was to compile Brihat Bhagavatamrita, teaching people how to become devotees, execute devotional service, and attain love of Krishna. And he also wanted him to teach and write about Vaishnava etiquette. It's going to come up several times during this discussion. And, I'm unhappy, but also happy. The messages I wanted to share, other than through this PowerPoint, was a reiteration of everything that's in the PowerPoint. Just like to say it twice. So I can't say it twice, but it's the same message I wanted to share. We're just doing it this way because I talk too much in the morning session. The other book, so Brihat Bhagavatamrita, how to become devotees, how to execute devotional service, and how to attain love of Krishna. Same as we heard in the morning session where Krishna was explaining to the kings. Same. Also, he wanted to compile Hari Bhakti Vilas. He was to compile. That's something Mahaprabhu wanted him to do, and he did, wherein he collected authoritative scriptural injunctions regarding how a Vaishnava should behave. Is it important to know how we should behave or not so important? Just become a nice devotee. And your behavior is here or there, it's okay. Now, there's a nice way to say this, and there's a heavy way to say this, and sometimes both are needed. So at the end, I'm going to be a little heavy, but this is the nice way to say it. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, so Haridas said, I can understand from this conversation that Mahaprabhu wants you to reside and write these two types of books. That's my understanding of what just transpired. Some time passed. Rath Yatra hasn't happened yet. The devotees from Navadvip, 350 in number, all came to Puri prior to the Gundicha Marjana pastime, because they all took part. So they arrived, and Mahaprabhu personally introduced him to each one of those Vaishnavas, all exalted personalities, big guest list. And he taught him how to offer proper respect to each and every one, because some were elder, some were equals, some were juniors. But respect goes to everyone, and how respect should be is an etiquette point. Just like we heard in the morning when Krishna received Narada Muni, he followed the etiquette. Now Narada Muni accepted the respect that was offered to him, although he knew at the same time that Krishna is the omniscient personality of Godhead. He's just teaching other people, because if he didn't teach other people, people would follow, something that they shouldn't be following because they're not the Supreme Lord. So he followed the etiquette. Mahaprabhu was teaching Sanatana Goswami, not that he was dull, but he was instructing him how to offer proper respect. And in turn, there's reciprocation from those who he offered respect to. And according to the language of Chaitanya Charitamrita, in turn, some that were more advanced, they offered their mercy. Some who were peers, they offered their friendship. Those that were more junior, they offered their worship and respect. Vaishnava Etiquette 101. As they were coming into Puri. I'm going to pause just for a second. I'm contemplating, I don't know how far it's going to go, but hopefully it'll go. There's requirements from the GBC for becoming initiated devotees first and second. It's not a GBC requirement to complete Bhakti Shastri for second. It's something that I want. I'm contemplating seriously adding another layer. Another layer has to do with Vaishnava etiquette. Because I observe as they move around, it's not one location versus another location, but devotees who receive some position of second initiation and maybe some service, some further refinement is needed because some persons become proud, or some persons become a little pushy, or some persons, become a little competitive, and some persons help to form groups, and this group and that group, and groupism happens, and it's like it's not pleasant. You'd say it the opposite. It's unpleasant. You can say it's stronger. It's distasteful, but it happens, and we've seen it. We go like, "Hey, why is this happening?" And we may be participants in doing it ourselves, and we don't even know it. Groupism, and and pride and positionism and things like that, as opposed to what we heard this morning, what Prabhupada said. Excuse me, Friday evening. It's in the PDF that you hopefully have gotten. Cooperative spirit, and what we're seeing here on this slide is respect, and then reciprocating respect in kind according to one's position, etc., etc. But the underlying everything is respect. So I'm contemplating some system of helping those who are become eligible going into the future for second initiation to get some, at least in principle, there's not a guarantee of anything, but in principle, some understanding and some training, maybe some road testing a little bit, that there's some Vaishnava etiquette more, resting upon offering respect in different ways to offer respect. Besides, those that are more advanced, those that are equal, it's what madhyamas are supposed to do, and those that are less advanced. We often spend more time with those that are less advanced. We don't behave so nicely with those who are peers and don't have necessarily good relationships with those that are more advanced because our plan is better than their plan and things like that. It's not Vaishnava. Not Vaishnava. It's a problem. I'm sure you can tell your story. Yeah, Maharaj, I can tell you 10 stories. So what to do? I'm just vocalizing. This is a Vyasa Puja day, and I feel it's important for those of you who are connected to me in one way or another and have some appreciation one way or another. This is a very important dimension of representing. Just like it's a very important aspect for me to represent our founder Acharya, not just his teachings, but character and conduct and mood and mission and everything, because we're representative of. And why just somebody in the sannyas dhoti? It's everyone. You interact with more people than I do in your day-to-day life. Look around the room and see how many people are interacting with people, and what impression are we giving to other people about the Hare Krishna movement is like this, and I'm its representative. You may not be wearing a sign or a flag or banner or something, but people come to know. Too many anecdotal stories to tell you about this. Misconduct leads to bad impression, and it leads to doors are closed because people have a bad impression. And it takes a lot to change the bad impression into a changed good impression. I could tell you many stories about that. So, but when you whether it's fresh or this or that, our business is the same. That is, represent disciplic succession properly, and especially those who are brahmanas, because they're the ones to give direction and guidance to the rest of the world, the rest of the devotee community, and the rest of the world. So a lot rests on the shoulders of those that have that responsibility and opportunity of service. Okay, I'm going to get off my soapbox. So again, the emphasis on sneha, Mahaprabhu's sneha or affection towards Sanatana Goswami, and inviting the sneha or affection of others so that he could progress to achieve not only through his blessing, but the blessings of all the Vaishnavas. You get the point, right? The blessings of the Vaishnavas will enable you to do some service. Take away the blessings of the Vaishnavas, you're not going to be so successful in whatever the services that you do. So it's not just cosmetic, as we discussed this morning. It's not the blessings ATM. It's heartfelt. If it's an ATM type of blessings, that's what you're looking for. That's what you're going to get. But if you want something that's genuine, then it has to come from a genuine place, and that's the spirit of Vaishnava etiquette. So as we go forward in the chapter, I'm going to try to go a little faster now. Rath Yatra came, and Sanatana Goswami saw Mahaprabhu dancing, and seeing Mahaprabhu's dancing before Jagannath cart, he became astonished. There's the chamatkar again. Now, the chronology of when Sanatana Goswami first came, he came during the month of April, May, or Vaishakha, and during this month of May, June, Mahaprabhu tested him. Again, the word is used directly in the Bengali or the text. Pariksha karila. He tested. It's a build-up. He's being tested all along. We're being tested all along. Wake up, everybody. We're being tested all along, every step. But here specifically, Mahaprabhu was giving a big test. And the test was Vaishnava etiquette. The Vaishnava etiquette test was Mahaprabhu invited Sanatana Goswami to come join him for lunch at noon. So now we know when Mahaprabhu had lunch. It was at noon. And the place where Mahaprabhu was with Gadadhar Pandit at Yameshwara Tota. The Tota Gopinath temple is in the same Tota or garden, but Yameshwara Tota is an area. There's actually nearby a temple of Lord Shiva, Yameshwara Tota. So he was over there. He sent a messenger to Mahaprabhu, to Sanatana Goswami, to come and join me. Come meet me. He didn't say come have lunch with me. He just said come join me. And so Sanatana is like, yay! Lord Chaitanya is calling me to come join him. So what did he do? It's what he didn't do, as well as what he did do. It will show you in a map. Here's the summary from the text. There's Yameshwara Tota looks like this from the outside. And inside, this is not a photo of the deities, it's a drawing of the deities. It's Tota Gopinath. And look on either side of Tota Gopinath. One gopi playing a flute, another gopi playing a veena. Very rasika. Now, instead of going to Yameshwara Tota on almost a straight line, he went in a very circuitous path. At noon, the sand on the beach in that year, that month of the year, Mahaprabhu said, it's as hot as fire. Agni is used. It burns like fire, and that's the path he traveled on. Instead of going on the more direct route, which is the Singhadwar gate of the Jagannath temple. Now, this is a very old photograph, obviously. It doesn't look the same today, but you see the two lions in the front? Those are the Singha lions at the Singhadwar gate, the entrance into the Jagannath temple. And in this area, traditionally, the pujaris would live. So they would come and go through this gate to go to their homes. So Sanatana Goswami didn't want to go in front of the gate because his yucky, smelly, blood oozing body with sores might happen to accidentally brush against one of the brahmanas and be a big offense. So what did he do? Here's a little map. He was staying with, on the right side, Siddhabakul. That's where Haridas Thakur was residing at Siddhabakul. And the Singhadwar gate is where that orange little marker is, towards the center. And on the left side is Yameshwara Tota. So instead of going more or less a straight line, he went all the way down by the beach. Now, why did he do that? Well, for deity worship, there are two, Prabhupada taught us, two most important things. Cleanliness and punctuality, right? Everyone knows that one, right? Cleanliness and punctuality. And it's for your home, but even more so that the bar goes up for temple worship. So cleanliness and punctuality. You know, sometimes devotees, pujaris, are standing by the gate, by the curtain, waiting. You know, it's just because it's punctuality, and then the curtain opens. So if I brush against, my body brushes against some of the pujaris, big offense. It contaminates their body. I mean, they can take a bath afterwards, but so better I go along the beach. So Mahaprabhu, when he asked, when Sanatana Goswami arrived, omniscient Mahaprabhu asked him, by what path did you come? He said, I went by the beach. And he said, how were you able to walk on the hottest fire sand along the beach? Or what about us? When we have some service to do and there's some hardships in doing that service, what do? You know, poor organizers of this Vyasa Puja event, they had to walk on hot coals to make it happen. Just to figure it out for Chicago, and then to do, you know, within 24 hours, a U-turn. Whew. There was lots of back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And here we are. Whoever made it. So sometimes things don't go in a straight line. They go in a different than a straight line. And what do you do when you face extreme hardships when carrying out your service? What do you do? And what you do depends upon your internal absorption in the person who you're serving. Not just this event, anything. Using the phrase that's being used in both of these morning and afternoon sessions is Dhrita Bhakti. There's a nice definition. Many of you know the definition of Bhakti by Rupa Goswami. You want to say the verse? Anyabhilasha shunyam? Okay, we'll say it together. I was going to ask him to say it, but you two are all enthusiastic. Anyabhilasata shunyam jnana karma janavritam anukulyena krishnanushilanam bhaktir uttama. Bhaktir uttama is the pure devotion. So the qualification of pure devotion, in Jiva Goswami's commentary, he writes, this anushilana means continuous service. Undivided, unbroken, unmotivated, undeterred service has two aspects. There's an active aspect, or cheshta rupa. That's what we do physically and with our words and our mind. But there's also an emotional aspect or devotional aspect, the bhava rupa, the affection and despair. Whereas Shri Radhika, it's devotion, despair, no anxiety, Vaikuntha, despair, transcendental emotion. That's the emotional form consisting of affection, priti, and despair, vishada, transcendental. not the worldly kind. And that's Anushilanam. That's following the path of great personalities. So Mahaprabhu, this is a lesson. When you're being tested, please remember, there's transcendental emotion. Now, many of our experiences are not transcendental emotion. Depends on how attached you are to the object, or conversely, how attached you are to the subject. Self-absorbed, in the wrong sense. And then there's Krishna absorbed. And then it's transcendental. In the full range of emotions, fantastic. Welcome to the spiritual world. Full range of emotions. Spotless. Nishkinchana, that was one of the other phrases. Akinchana or Nishkinchana, having no material aspiration. The kings had gotten to that position, no more material aspiration. Not even wanting liberation. Sounds familiar? Mahaprabhu. Nadanam, Najanam. So Mahaprabhu's teaching is the teaching of pure devotion. Mahaprabhu said, my dear Sanatan, although you are the deliverer of the entire universe, yet it is the characteristic of devotee to observe and protect Vaishnava etiquette. He explained why he went the way he went, and he said, "What about the blisters on your feet?" He said, "I didn't feel any pain." Didn't say there wasn't pain. Blisters generally pain goes along with blisters. Generally speaking, he didn't feel any pain. There was pain. He didn't feel it. Why? His mind was absorbed in meeting Mahaprabhu. Didn't even feel it. Didn't no inconvenience at all. That's these two features. What the body, mind, and words do. And then there's the bhava, the emotion that goes on both sides, the joy and the sorrow. Or because the happiness is in relation to the object. That's Krishna consciousness. And to the degree that one is absorbed in the object, it's the same lesson we're going to hear again, if I ever get there, at the end of this session. Maintenance of Vaishnava etiquette is the ornament of a devotee, sadhu bhushana. By observing the etiquette, you have satisfied my mind. Who else but you could show this example? Now, he's testing. This little passage was preceded by Krishnadas Kaviraj saying, on this particular occasion, Mahaprabhu tested him, and he got 5 gold stars after his name. And the result, the principle is Lord Chaitanya is to be pleased, and a subset of that is observing Vaishnava etiquette, and he's very pleased by that. Supposing you don't consider so carefully Vaishnava etiquette because you're so focused so much on pleasing Krishna. Guru and Krishna to be pleased. Look out, here I come. That's not pleasing Guru and Krishna. But people do that. Have you seen it? I've seen it. Blinders, Guru and Krishna, look out, here I come. I'm empowered. I've got an instruction. Here I come. It's what I'm saying just now is reminding me of Sri Radhika's question. Some of you weren't here. Along with the pleasing Krishna, what about the holistic picture of, people's feelings and, the other needs of people besides, oh, you're a nice devotee, you're pleasing Krishna. And could you please get off my foot? It hurts. Oh. This is a topic we're going to discuss tomorrow morning also. It's from first canto, chapter 7, Bhagavatam. So some time passed. Mahaprabhu tested him. Sanatana Goswami passed the test. You pleased me very much. Who else but you could show this example of, you're such an outstanding example of Vaishnava etiquette. Now, after saying that, what did Mahaprabhu do? He tried to embrace him. he, Sanatan, who doesn't want the pujaris to touch his body, is having his worshipable Lord not only touch his body, but embrace him. And he ran the other way. Mahaprabhu ran faster and grabbed him and embraced him. And he's smearing this yucky smell. What to do? He wanted to give up his body, and Mahaprabhu wouldn't let him give up his body. So then he started to develop another plan. His other plan is, after Rath Yatra, I'll see Jagannath. I won't throw my body under the cart, but I'll go to Vrindavan because he's given me Vrindavan as a place to go. So he consulted one day. Jagatananda came. Jagatananda Pandit came, and because they had friendship, he was in that group that went to Ramakeli, and of course they had some association there in Puri. They had affection for one another. So Mahaprabhu asked Jagatananda, Sanatana Goswami asked Jagatananda, this is going on, what should I do? He said, it's very, very easy. See Jagannath. You haven't seen Jagannath because you won't go in the temple. See Jagannath at Rath Yatra, and then afterwards you go to back to Vrindavan, because Mahaprabhu has given it to your family for the rest of your life to serve him there. So just go there. What's the problem? I said, yes, I was thinking the same thing. So then, after Jagadananda's visit, Mahaprabhu comes. And he wants to embrace Sanatana Goswami, and Sanatana Goswami is saying, please don't touch me, please don't touch me. Mahaprabhu chases after him and not only touches him, but embraces him again. Oh. Blood is running from infected, itching sores in my body, smearing your body with moisture, but still you touch me by force. Then he revealed his mind. I've made up my mind. After Rath Yatra, I want to go to Vrindavan. And not only, that's not what I want to do, but Jagatananda also said, that's a good idea. Confirmed. And I'm going to read from Chaitanya. I'm going much longer than I'm supposed to, but I can't help it. It's so nice. It's a good thing I didn't try to do it in the morning session. Okay. It'll cut down the rest of the program, but that's okay. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was thus chastising Jagadananda Pandit, he was calling him, he's just a boy. Batu means boy. He's just a boy. And he's proud. Sanatana Goswami fell at the Lord's feet and said, I can now understand the fortunate position of Jagadananda. I can also understand my misfortune. No one in this world is as fortunate as Jagadananda, because he was chastising him. Sir, you are making Jagadananda drink the nectar of affectionate relationships, whereas by offering me honorable prayers, you are making me drink the bitter juice of Nimba and Nishanda, Nishinda. It is my misfortune that you have not accepted me as one of the intimate relations, but you are completely independent, Supreme Personality of Godhead. So now comes a very interesting section, a whole big section of, here's the verses I just read. Mahaprabhu says, you have the power to, my dear Sanatan, please do not think that Jagadananda is more dear to me than you. However, I cannot tolerate transgressions of the standard etiquette. And sometimes devotees transgress standard etiquette. And you should know that's displeasing to Mahaprabhu. What to speak of Sadhu Ninda and the rest. You are an experienced authority in the Shastras, whereas Jaga, they went from Jagadananda to Jaga, kind of demeaning nomenclature, is just a young boy. You have the power to convince even me. See on the screen. In many places, you have already convinced me about ordinary behavior and devotional service. The ordinary behavior was in Ramakeli, and he said, this Nawab Hussein Shah can do anything at any time. He's a wild man. So my advice is don't stay. As much as I wanted your association, you should leave this place immediately because he's wild. He can do anything. How much overtime am I right now? Not at all. Not at all. Wow, she's so nice. You can be the MC next year too. Only if you say it's okay. Then comes a very interesting statement. So in Ramakeli, he gave him ordinary behavior instruction and devotional service instruction. Although he's looking up to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as the supreme personality of Godhead, even at that time, he said it's not good as a sannyasi, this is etiquette, to go to Vrindavan with thousands of people. You shouldn't, it's not good. You should enter with alone or with one person. So Mahaprabhu thought about it the next day, he decided he's right. And he went back to Puri, left everybody there, and went with just one servant. So you're capable of instructing me, and Jagat's just a boy. So next, I'm going to read. There's a whole section. Why did this whole thing happen to begin with? Why was Sanatana Goswami put in that condition? And why Lord Chaitanya knew his standard etiquette, not wanting to have his body touch the Brahmanas, and yet Mahaprabhu was embracing him again and again. Like, that's unkind, someone might say. It's unkind. He knows his disciple, his student, his follower, his devotee is feeling really uncomfortable and he's going to give up his body. He keeps embracing and keeps embracing and keeps embracing him. Why? What's going on? When you have some difficult situation, what's going on? And it just keeps going on. It gets worse and sometimes it happens like that. Or somebody near to you and dear to you, it keeps happening. Then, like, you feel really badly. What to do? Why? It has a happy ending. Don't worry. Because Krishna's kind. So there's a discussion back and forth. Why he keeps embracing him. Mahaprabhu says, you consider your body dangerous and awful, but I think your body is like nectar. Actually, your body is transcendental and never material. You are thinking of it, however, in terms of a material conception. This evening, we're going to hear Krishna say the same thing. Krishna is going to say the same thing to Sandipani Muni. When one accepts the position of servant, this genuine, not just cosmetic, the body becomes spiritual. Through Diksha, the body becomes spiritual. You can certainly slip and fall, and then you can slacken in devotional service. But this is what he's saying. And it's here abundantly in the purports. Even if your body were material, now he's taking another tack. I'm a sannyasi. I could not neglect it, for the material body should be considered neither good nor bad. This is the duty of a sannyasi. Anything not conceived in relation to Krishna should be understood to be illusion. This is a quote from Krishna speaking to Uddhava, Uddhava Gita, chapter 28, canto 11. Anything not conceived in relation to Krishna should be understood to be illusion. None of the illusions uttered by words or conceived in the mind are factual, because illusion is not factual. There's no distinction between what we think is good and bad. When we speak of the absolute truth, speculations do not apply. It goes on. Quite a bit it goes on. In the material world, conceptions of good and bad are all mental speculations, therefore saying this is good and that is bad is all a mistake. Vidya Vinaya Sampane, he quotes, one who is fully satisfied in knowledge, obtained and practically applied in life, who is always determined and fixed in his spiritual position, who completely controls his senses, and who sees pebble stones and gold on the same level is understood to be a perfect yogi. Sound familiar? Bhagavad Gita 6:8. Since I am in the renounced order, it is my duty to make no distinctions. I'm a sannyasi. So I don't think good and bad. I'm a sannyasi. Although, kiva vipra, kiva nyasi. My knowledge must be equally disposed towards sandalwood pulp and dirty mud. For this reason, I cannot reject you. If I hated you, I would deviate from my occupational duty. Now, there's several things. I'm not going to go into what those several things are. You can go back and read it again. It's taking several different positions. Haridas, bold Haridas, is saying, I don't accept what you're saying. What you have spoken deals with external formalities. I do not accept it. And he has his reason why he's doing this. We are fallen, but you have accepted us due to your attribute of being merciful to the fallen. This is well known all over the world. Mahaprabhu disagrees. Listen, Haridas and Sanatan. Now I am speaking the truth about how my mind is attached to you. He speaks in a more affectionate terms. I'm like a mother with a child that's passing stool. And the mother wiping the child's body that's past stool, she thinks it's nice. At least some mothers do. The maintainer never takes seriously any faults in the maintained. I always think of myself as deserving no respect, but because of affection, I always consider you to be my little children. Now, both of them are older in age, but this is the affection that he has for them. When child passes stool and urine, etc. On the contrary, mother takes great pleasure in cleansing them. The stool and urine of the maintained child appear like sandalwood pulp. What does that laughter mean? I think I can guess. Similarly, when he's using the foul moisture oozing from the sores of Sanatan touch my body, I have no hatred for him. This is a discussion about why he keeps embracing him. Haridas said, my dear sir, you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead and are most merciful towards us. No one can understand what is within your deeply affectionate heart. It's like, it's same as we're like wooden dolls dancing, and we don't know why you're having us dance the way you're having us dance, but you can have us dance however you like. And then he says, listen to this. You embraced the leper Vasudev at Kurmakshetra when Mahaprabhu left Puri going on a southern tour. I think I have a picture of Vasudev the leper. Yeah. Whose body was fully infected not only with leprosy, but by worms crawling in and out of the leprosy sores. You know the story. Vasudeva put the worm back in the sore when they fell out. Poor guy. And Mahaprabhu saw that condition and he embraced Vasudeva, and his body became whole. By embracing him, you made his body beautiful, as that of Cupid, Why is this not happening with Sanatan? We cannot understand the waves of your mercy. Mahaprabhu, the body of a devotee is never material. It is considered to be transcendental, full of spiritual bliss. So I hope you're feeling that, Prabhus. At the time of initiation, when a devotee when a devotee fully surrenders to the service of the Lord, Krishna accepts him as good as himself. When the devotee's body is thus transformed into spiritual existence, the devotee in that transcendental body renders service to the lotus feet of the Lord. There's more quotes from Uddhava Gita. Mahaprabhu says he has another opinion. This is like why this happened and so forth. Krishna somehow tested. Krishna manifested these itching sores, and Krishna was testing me, Mahaprabhu. How am I going to respond to these sores? Sanatan Goswami is one of the associates of Krishna. There could not be any bad odor from his body. On the first day I embraced him, I smelled the aroma of a mixture of sandalwood, pulp, camphor, aguru, and musk. In fact, there was such a fragrance, Krishna Das says. Sanatan, don't be grieved, for when I embrace you, I actually feel great pleasure. Stay with me at Jagannath Puri for 1 year. He wants to go back to Vrindavan. Stay with me. So this is in this whole sequence of chastising Jagadananda, and he already had the idea, and now that door is closed. Stay with me for 1 year and suffer. I'll keep coming and seeing you and embracing you. What is this? And after that, I will send you to Vrindavan. After saying this, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu again embraced Sanatana Goswami. Thus, immediately, Sanatana's sores disappeared, and his entire body resembled the color of gold. Now, why didn't it happen long ago? Like, why didn't Krishna go right away to kill Jarasandha? And he didn't even need to kill Jarasandha, just release the kings from the prison and Haribol. We had a better plan. Mahaprabhu shouldn't have kept embracing Sanatan. Shouldn't have given the sores. You should have let him do what he wants to do, because we're liberal these days, right? Follow your heart, Prabhu. The little anecdotal. I'm going to show some more pictures, but little anecdotal. At one point, I was a college kid, a couple lifetimes ago, and the person that introduced me to chanting Hare Krishna on a regular basis, along with the Hare Krishna devotees at the campus, was I won't mention his name, but a person who previously had been a professor at Harvard University. He went to India and became an impersonalist and came back teaching chanting Hare Krishna. So I was in this crossroads, and I went with a couple of friends. We went to the place where he had a summer home in, I forget wherever it was, New Hampshire or something like that, big mansion kind of thing. Knocked on the door. He came to the door, and I asked, I'm between this and that. Now, what would be your advice? He closed his eyes, got really mystical, and said, "Follow your heart." And that was it. So, what if my heart says, to murder you? I mean, I didn't say that, but I was thinking, follow your heart isn't an answer. That was it. That door was closed. There has to be some intelligence besides your heart. I mean, the heart is important, and that's in these two features of anukulyena, there's what you do, and there's also the heart, and they need to be aligned. and that what you do should be in line with Scripture, and that's our process. The other just doesn't make sense. It's like a boat in the middle of the ocean without a captain and without a rudder. Maybe you got a steering wheel, but it doesn't do anything because there's no rudder. It's like very unsafe crossing the ocean, material existence like that. Then Mahaprabhu said, after in this whole discussion about Sanatana Goswami, about Jagatananda, this sentence here is a nice sentence, text 171. Although one has affection for many persons, different types of ecstatic love awaken according to the nature of one's personal relationship, or priti swabhave. So there's an affection between myself and Jagatananda. There's an affection between you, Sanatan, and me. There's an affection between me and Haridas, and it's not the same. There's different varieties of affection. And so there's different exchanges and different varieties of pastimes and different varieties of relationships. Here's the Lord Chaitanya embracing Vasudeva the leper on the right side, and he comes out with a golden body. Here's Vasudeva offering his obeisances at the feet, clutching the feet, Mahaprabhu. Okay, so this is the story. Haridas ends this discussion saying, Chamatkar, in Mahaprabhu's presence. This is your pastime. After he changed his body, you didn't change his body, so he changed his body. But he could have done it long ago, and he didn't do it just because Haridas challenged him. He did it because he wanted Sanatan to come to a point where he had no other shelter. His intelligence, good advice, and this and that and the other thing. And he's such a strict observer of standard etiquette. Lord Chaitanya keeps embracing him. Pressure and pressure and pressure and pressure. Kaboom! He didn't explode. He just transformed him. So, there was a discussion this morning about, why did you just transform him right away? Where is he? I don't see him. Is he not here? Raghav? Oh, there you are. Okay. Further purification, further qualifying. So when the mercy comes, it's like, because there's no other shelter. There's no other shelter. And then here's the shelter. It's not just like, going from darkness to light. It's being qualified to receive fullness of mercy. Anyway, Mahaprabhu has his way. Krishna has his way. And we're in their hands too. We have our tests and our exams. I want to play a little video. It's really short. But this is Prabhupada starting his mission, going back to our founder Acharya topic. This is what I plan to say without telling the whole Sanatana Goswami story. I plan just to do the highlights of it again. But while the microphone's getting ready, Prabhupada is in New York. I was in the audience for this little recorded session. The image on the front here is Prabhupada at Tompkins Square Park, 1966. But this is a recording of a lecture Prabhupada gave at the Brooklyn Temple in probably 1971 or so, something like that. Hopefully it's going to work.
Chanting Hare Krishna. We may not understand what is meaning of Hare Krishna, but it's still, because it is transcendental sound, it is auspicious. Whenever you chant Hare Krishna, they may hear or they may not hear, It is auspicious for them. We are sending our men for street Sankirtan. It doesn't matter whether people are eager to hear it or not, but it is auspicious. It will create an atmosphere which is very, very congenial to the human society. That should be our thinking. Not that because we are chanting, nobody is taking care, we shall not be disappointed. However, this Sankirtan movement is so nice that simply by chanting, the vibration will create an auspicious atmosphere. Very honest. Now you can practically see those who are old members. So I began in this New York, in that store front, simply by chant. So I did not bribe you American boys, girls to come after me. This only asset was chant. The Tompkinson and this Brahmananda Swami, he first came to dance with my chant. He and Achyutananda. That was the first dancing of our Krishna consciousness movement. Yes. And I had no mridangas. That was a, what is that? Little drum. So I was chanting Hare Krishna for from 2 to 5, 3 hours. And so many boys and girls were coming and joining. And there was first photograph in the Times, New York Times. They appreciated, and people also appreciated. So this chant, the beginning was only chant. There was nothing more. At that time there was no program of prasad distribution. That later on it came. So we should always be confident that this chanting is not a vibration of this material world. This is not vibration of material. Narottam Das Thakur says, Golokera prema dhana hari nama sankir. It is imported from the spiritual world.
Harinam, book distribution and prasadam distribution, 3 prongs in the Sankirtan movement of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. I misquoted this morning. It was Akinchana Das Babaji. I said something else, Krishna Das Babaji. Akinchana Das Babaji. Here's a photograph of him inside the Bhajan Kutir that's by the side of Pavan Sarovar. And that reference of he is sitting with Ban Maharaj and Prabhupada saying, why was Prabhupada successful and Ban Maharaj was not? One of you was successful, the other was not. Why? And he attributed Prabhupada's success in his faith in the holy name. A profound faith in the holy name. And Prabhupada's saying it here in this little video. I had nothing. He had nothing but faith in the holy name. And little drum. Boom, boom. That was it. But, kaboom, the Hare Krishna explosion. We heard Friday evening about Prabhupada's mission and vision. He wanted us to assist him. And the mission was Mahaprabhu's teaching should go to the English-speaking parts of the world. And it didn't happen in India. It happened when he got on the boat to go to America. And it didn't happen right away when he came to, he was tested, without listing the tests. And then finally, and then something, and then it started rolling and it started growing. But all along he had a mission and a vision. And it still continues, and we have an opportunity to assist him. So one of the favorite activities of Srila Prabhupada was his book distribution. Look at his smile. Whenever there's some news of book publication, everything would stop. I wasn't there, but I was told by those that were there. Whatever was going on, it stopped, and Prabhupada gave undivided attention, joyfully looking at each and every step forward. He wanted us, these are the inspirational words at the end of this long-winded session. He wanted us to reach the hearts and the minds of the audiences that are currently in an unfortunate and influenced by the dark age of Kali situation. Harinam, Prashadam distribution, book distribution. And I was moved by the question that Sri Radhika asked. I'm going to give a couple of examples of Prabhupada's care of the devotees, not just rescue their soul and the rest can go down the drain. He was very concerned about the well-being of devotees. There's so many, I'm just going to tell two or three. One of them I heard directly from Kaladri, and because Kaladri at one point in time was the president in New Vrindavan, and Prabhupada had given a class in the old Bahulaban farm temple, and he was coming out, lots of devotees and Hari Bol, and he saw just outside the door, there was a girl sitting, looked cold. Prabhupada stopped, turned to Kaladri and said, why does this girl doesn't have adequate clothing? And he gave some answer, there's supplies and she didn't take or something like that. And then Prabhupada said something to the effect, this is not verbatim, but everyone should be adequately clothed, and you should every month survey all the devotees to see if their needs are being met. The creature needs are being met. And he was firm on it. And, it was followed, at least for some period of time when Kaladri was the president, because Prabhupada instructed. I remember very clearly there was a car accident at some point in time. And Prabhupada then instructed that every day the cars should be cleaned inside and out. Vans, because we would travel in vans to go to Harinam and things like that. And so, at least the temple that I was in, every day, inside and out, vans were made clean. I had very little association with Mother Jamuna, but the little bit that I did, it was towards the end of her life, was it a couple of circumstances. She told me the same story twice, and I'll say it quickly. Her narration was so heart-moving, but saying quickly doesn't do full justice. She and one other lady, I don't remember the name, Prabhupada had sent them an invitation to come join him for a Pandal program. So they were very happy, like Sanatana Goswami going to Tota Gopinath or Yameshwara Tota to meet Mahaprabhu. So very, very happy. They got on a train. Guess what? The train was late. Happens in India sometimes. And Prabhupada was standing on the platform waiting for them with garlands and sandalwood paste. He waited, they were late. He gave them sandalwood paste, gave them the garlands, came with them personally to the room that he had prearranged for them to stay in, and showed them inside and asked them, is it all right, is it suitable? Imagine how she felt. Now, he didn't have to do that. He could have had somebody do that. But she had such affection for him, and he had such affection for her. And there's many other stories. But, here's one other situation. In mainland China, there's it has cat and mouse with the government, without details. And the person that's this year, last 3 years actually, has been the leading personality in mainland China is a lady. Her name is Sandini. And they divided up activities in mainland China in different departments, like 7 of them. She chose devotee care. that's her leadership. No. There's another, she's a disciple, and there's another disciple that does the training and education. She gets full support from Sandini. But Sandini's work is devotee care because sometimes people have hardships and there isn't a temple structure to look after them. So she set up a system where people are looked after because it's so important. So we should also look after devotees because sometimes it's not like, it's not like China where the government's like, our government is not like that. But the needs are there for devotee care. And finally, almost finally, something that I would like to see, it has to do with the same standard etiquette message that Mahaprabhu appreciated within Sanatana Goswami. He knew what standard etiquette was. He helped him understand it. He nurtured it. And he appreciated him for that standard etiquette. So I see there's the need, I said it before and I'm saying it again, for more culture and more maturity amongst the devotee community. So how do you get maturity? You have to follow those who have it. And you can't be disrespectful to those who have it. You have to be respectful. Well, if I could find somebody that's cultured, then I could follow them. Fault finding and all those things. Become the example yourself. Read Prabhupada's books, read Chaitanya Charitamrita, read Srimad Bhagavatam, and understand the distinction between what's to be done, what's not to be done, and do what's to be done, and avoid what's not to be done. Here's our test, final slide. The test, this is from that PDF that was circulated, the one that says interesting quotes, extracts. The test of our actual dedication and sincerity to serve the spiritual master will be in this mutual cooperative spirit to push on this movement and not make factions and deviate. Push on the movement. What can I do? Not what should they do. What can I do? Increase the chanting of the holy name, increase the book distribution, and increase prasadam distribution in different venues, and keep yourself really busy. Because sometimes devotees say, I'm too busy. And it's true, you have busy lives. But those that are very clear and focused, this is one of the messages from the morning class, be focused on what the practice is and be focused on what the objective is of that practice. And that Krishna is to be pleased. And you'll find the ways. Somehow you'll find the ways. Busy people find the ways. I wanted to say many nice things about many particular devotees, but I've been talking too much, so. Srila Prabhupada ki.
Srila Prabhupada Swami Maharaj ki jai. Thank you very much, Maharaj. I forgot to say something I wanted to say in my welcome note, and the video you played reminded this Vyasa Puja festival so beautiful that it can very easily pull on the strings of our hearts. I don't know if that's already happened for any of you, but it's already happened for me quite a few times. And